Okay, so I'm here to talk about I Support Jamaica, but I want to kind of give you a sense of how we got to I Support Jamaica. JN Foundation, as you know, has been around for many years and is part of the JN Group. We're heavily invested in Jamaica because our owners, all 700,000 of them, are Jamaican people. And how JN gives back to their shareholders is through a lot of benefits, a lot of developmental work. So the purpose of the JN Foundation is to promote the economic and social advancement of all Jamaicans. This has changed recently in that we only focused on Jamaicans at home. We're now looking at how we can also support Jamaicans abroad. We have an interesting person sitting at my table quite by accident, because we know that Brian, who was in home again, sorry Brian, I couldn't help it, but we know that there's so many issues that Jamaicans overseas are also facing, and we feel that we have, and they're also JN members, and we feel we have a responsibility to support them. So the history of JN Foundation, we were founded in 1990. JNBS was founded in 1874. The whole purpose of JNBS itself was to get people who could not access financing for homes or for land, to get them access for that. I think that's probably one of the guiding principles of JN, has been access and opening up access, whether it's access to financial services, access to finances, access to technology, access to opportunities. I think the theme for the last 140 years has been access. JN Foundation, because we are founded in rurality, our primary focus is rural, but we do support programs in Kingston. And we have a thematic approach. So we support work to do with economic and community development, youth and education, arts, culture, heritage, health, security, and safety. And we use innovation at our core. We have very limited resources, obviously. And we feel that in order to be able to do more, we have to use an innovative approach, whether it is technological innovation, idea innovation, whatever it is, that we have to be creative in the work that we do and how we do it. I'm going to run past that. So let's talk about transformation. What we're really trying to do is we're trying to transform communities. We're trying to transform the Jamaican landscape. You have to look at ideas. You have to look at what you can bring to the table in terms of ideas, but also what communities are doing. My experience, because I've worked all over the Western Hemisphere, I won't say the world, but all over the Western Hemisphere, and I, in my experience, believe that Jamaica has the most innovative and creative programming done at the very grassroots level, go all the way up. We have a lot of criticism to make about ourselves and how we do things, but creativity and innovation cannot be one of them. Resources. You have to look at how you transform with the resources you have. You do not have an infinite amount of resources, and I'm sure there's a lot of you who are involved in technology, involved in media marketing, understand the challenges you face with the resourcing. We, for example, at the foundation are not allowed to advertise. So unlike other foundations that advertise their very being, we are not able to do that. So back in 2008, when my board was saying, well, we're not getting enough traction, nobody knows about the JN Foundation, you need to do more, and the Gleaner and the Observer and them have printed all the stories they're willing to print, we decided, okay, well, we have to take control. We entered social media back in 2008 with Facebook, and have really used that platform to kind of catapult us into the communication world. It's something we have full control over. We do it in real time. It's our content. It's our agenda. And since then, we have then booked everything. And I think Javet's presentation talking about social media, what we did is we booked everything. We don't use everything, but we booked it. So everything has JN Foundation. We have our name. All right, we put it down. And then as we move along, we decide what works for us and what we're going to use. And I think that what we have also discovered is that when you do develop social media for your organization, it's something that you have to be personally invested in, and it does, to a large extent, take over your life. Perseverance. A lot of the work that we do requires either years and years or days and days. It requires a lot of ongoing work and support. And obviously, we then move into the support. Okay? I think that these are the things that we look at when we're looking to transform communities. So the source, anybody ever heard of the source, community resource? Obviously. Oh, we have a few people. Oh, lovely. We actually have a source just down the road there in Bryce Hill Plaza. The Source is a community resource center that's based off of an innovative social delivery model, which is social enterprises. Social enterprises are for-profit businesses with not-for-profit aims. So yes, it is like an NGO or a charity that seeks to make profit, right? Profit is not a bad word for this sector, so that they can reinvest it into their social delivery. I'm sure lots of you are involved in charities and community organizations, and you face an ongoing problem of how to fund it. You need to develop proper income streams for your social enterprise, for your charities and NGOs. So this is direct intervention. These centers all have media libraries, internet cafes. They're about decreasing societal isolation that people, for example, in a community like Augustown, which is an awful location geographically, because what it has what I call the Great Wall of Gibraltar on one side, which is the UE Wall, and then on the other side it has these sort of very, very steep mountains. So this community naturally is extremely enclosed, and they're cut off from the rest of the world by these sort of long roads to become part of it. And we felt that the Source was a good way to bring them right in to being center, front and center. We've done 5 centers in 5 communities over 5 years. We started in Augustown in 2007. We did one in Marvelly off Washington Boulevard. We did one in Treasure Beach. We did one in Ocho Rios. And then we did one in Savannah, Lamar, which we call the Super Source. I'm sure most of you in here have heard of crowdfunding platforms, I would imagine. Okay? I'm going to make that assumption. And I know that they say about those who assume, but I'm going to make the assumption. I Support Jamaica is a little different to others in that crowdfunding platforms are normally of one type. Either they are for lending, or they are for granting, which is giving, or they are rewards-based. I Support is both. You can lend on I Support and you can give to I Support. So you can support projects and community development in Jamaica, but you can also support micro-enterprise. And I think this is the area that many of you might be more interested in, is how we can support micro-enterprise, startups, and that sort of thing. So the purpose of I Support Jamaica is to transform communities, okay? It's to mobilize vast financial resources for growth. Our resources are limited. International $8 to Jamaica go down annually. It doesn't look like the trend is going to change and start going back up. So if you cannot figure out a way to get additional resources and financing into Jamaica, we have, is it JJGWAX in here doing some great stuff, you know, but you only have limited ones of those coming in to do it. This allows everybody all over the world to come in, create widespread access to financial resources, whether it is granting, whether it is lending, to remove the sense of isolation. Entrepreneurs, startups, community groups can often feel like they're in this alone, and like, you know, in order to get anything done, they sort of have to have a begging mentality. Crowd financing, peer-to-peer lending, whatever you want to call it, is about a camaraderie between individuals and groups who want to become part of the solution. This is about getting rid of the veranda talk. And every time you now get onto a veranda and people want to cuss and carry on about the situation in Jamaica, tell them to take the credit card inside, go on the computer, and donate to I Support. It also allows you to develop global stakeholders. The way that I see I Support growing is very much for the startups. Now, one of the main partners of I Support is JN Small Business Loans, who currently don't offer loans to startups. We feel that I Support is a good solution for startups, for the new industry, for the techies, for the applications, for the animators. That whole new industry that we're pushing as a real viable source of income for Jamaica, we think that I Support can offer. And the other interesting thing about I Support is that individuals and organizations can very often float between lending and giving. So you could be looking for a $5,000 loan and a $5,000 grant. You can go on I Support to raise funds 2 ways. Okay, it's not one brush paints everybody.